So today we're going to talk about Team Liquid versus G2 on Split. And a couple days ago I made a video about Cloud9 versus Optic and why NA Valorant is full of mistakes. Well, here we are with the follow-up to that. The EMEA Valorant is also full of mistakes. And this map, I was tearing my hair out for a lot of it. And I think once I explain some of the things that I'm talking about, you'll understand what I mean. So the first thing we need to look at is the team comps, because this is going to explain something that I was quite annoyed by. So this team comp over here from G2 looks pretty normal, right? You've got like Breach, Raze, Sage, Chamber, Brimstone, like all agents that I think are pretty decent on this map and make sense a lot of the time. And then on Liquid's side, of course, they're Liquid, so they went with something weird where they go with the Brim plus the Omen, a Breach, a Sage, and a Raze. And, you know, this is kind of weird. And the thing is, the problems with these comps, and let me explain it to you just in terms of the map, is that essentially you can't really easily go A. Let me explain why. So normally you see a Cypher or a Viper on this map, and I guess it's technically possible with Jet as well. But if you want to go to this A site, you have to be able to control this space here. Okay, if you can't control this space here, you can't go here, and you can't go this way, right? And you're not going to do a full 5-stack push vents. That's just rarely ever going to happen, so you basically have to control this area. Now, with Viper, what you'll often see is like the wall going across there, you'll get the orb in here, and voila, you have control of this area, right? With this Cypher, instead, you'll get the two cages, one that goes like here, and one that here, and voila, you have control of this area. With both of these comps, they didn't really have a great way of getting control of this area. This was Team Liquid's plan, to put a Brim Smoke here, which kind of gives you control of some of this area, but not really, and you can see that the Brim hasn't really made his way up there or anything. And the problem is, of course, Brim needs to be close to the team, and we're about to talk about that in this round. So having a Brim here as kind of your default to smoke this is a bit weird anyway, right? Because Brim kind of needs to be near the team to really make a difference in the game. So again, would both of these teams have been better off if they would have played, you know, either of a Cypher or a Viper? Yes, probably, because what ended up happening in this game is the spike was planted on this A site a couple of times, but only 2 of those rounds were won. And in those 2 rounds, one was where Avova, you know, basically just pushed through this smoke, died straight away, and gave Liquid A site for free. And the other one was when G2 started B. It didn't go great. They ended up in a 3v3. They full rotated around the map, got to the A site, and then won a 1v2 clutch where the 2 Team Liquid players lined up. Those were the 2 times that either team won on A site by planting the spike, because they just never got control of this area at all, and it was a big problem. But there are other problems as well, and so let's dive into that, and we'll start with this round. And this round has started with G2 making this push down here. Actually quite nice, right? They slowed this, they naded this to get these off, and then the Sage and the Raid pushed down and got this kill here on Link on Omen there in mid. So good start. But then Liquid, for whatever reason, have decided, okay, 2 have pushed down mid, go now, even though Solcast has seen them go back, so that wasn't true. But Yampy and Scream here are just going to push B site, just the 2 of them together, even though there's 4 people on this side of the map. But they're actually going to make it work, because their strategy must have just been Yampy go kill, and guess what? Yampy did go kill. So they're going to just run in with no smokes. Again, looks like a ranked game, right, where you're all over the map and there's no coordination at all. But Yampy, as I said, is going to go kill. He gets 2 there from just going over wall, gets a 3rd one because he's Yampy, and then it looks very good for them all of a sudden, and they're in this 4v2, make that a 4v1, but guess what? They are actually going to lose this, because Avova manages to get 2 kills, and we end up in this spot, where again, because they've just pushed B site randomly, Navarre's had to run here, and you can see he's only managed to get to there at this point, and the spike is actually down already. And there is a Sage wall still in heaven, and that's going to cause some problems as well for them. So Scream really needs to delay here, and to be fair to him, he's going to try and delay here. So Avova gets onto the site, and then he's going to go smoke as well. He has no idea that Navarre is all the way behind the Sage wall. But at this point, Navarre is trying to wait out this Sage wall, and obviously he doesn't really know how long it's got left, and that's going to cost him, because as soon as Avova taps this spike here, Navarre then realizes, oh, I need to get through this wall, I need to just break it and get in. But guess what? Avova is Avova, and he does this all the time, and seems to get away with it all the time. He just always just sticks it. And Scream fires a couple bullet time, and then eventually the Brim Molly is coming in, because it took him time to break down the wall there for Navarre, and Avova just stuck it, and then also managed to run away. So not only did they let him just defuse the spike, they also let him get out. That's how slow they were to this. And now let's come to round 5, because G2 here are going to do something that is just kind of weird. So what they're going to do is something that they did a lot. They're going to send a slow and a nade in here from the Raze and the Sage over here. And then, as you're about to see, this Sage is going to walk down mid. Here she goes. And she's going to wall this off. You'll see in a few seconds. There it goes. This wall here, right? Pretty weird wall overall, you might think. But then what's going to happen from that is after this wall is up there, the Sage is going to retreat because she's on her own. Send out another slow. The wall's just going to get destroyed by Team Liquid because it's split and there's always someone in mid. And now your Sage has lost all of her utility for nothing. And we are 1 minute 22 seconds left in the round. So not good. Not a good idea. And they did this again later on, a different time in a different round, where both the Sage and the Raze kind of pushed up and stayed there for a bit longer. And they ended up dying 2 for 1, so they both died and they got 1 kill out of it, which was with a Raze ult as well, which kind of goes to show that this clearly wasn't fully thought out. But the thing that really annoyed me about this was that their team comp could really use with an idea like this, and it could work to perfection, an idea like this with the team comp that G2 have, which is why it annoyed me. Let me explain. I'll tell you what I would have done if I was G2 here. So the idea is you're going to wall off this, right? Which is a fine idea in itself. You're going to send the slow and the nade in here to push anyone back, right? So that's our kind of start plan, which is where G2 started with. The difference of what I do is, personally, I would have the breach and the brim over here on B. Maybe you like smoke off this or something, and you're going to get the breach fault line down here towards B, maybe even down here towards kind of mid and B. And then once you've got that fault line in and they're pushing in from that way, you're then going to flash this here to get it outside of B main. The Sage and the Raze are going to come down here. And the breach and the brim are going to come down here, and you're going to pinch on anyone in this spot. So essentially, if the map was like it is now, you'd end up in a 4v2, right? And what I would do this strat when my chamber had his ult, and I would have him playing with his ult on A somewhere back here. And the idea is, you know, you get maybe like a 4v2 like this, and, you know, hopefully you can win that, and you're using all your utility, and it's at the start of the round, and it's weird, and you're cutting off anyone here from supporting from the other side of mid. And if Team Liquid decide, the rest of the players who haven't been caught by this pinch decide, let's quickly go to A, you have a chamber ult there where the chamber can hopefully get 1, maybe teleport out, maybe even get 2 as they run in there, and you hopefully end up in like a 5v2. You see the difference between what G2 just did, where it's just a Sage walking down mid on her own, walling, literally getting nothing out of it and using all of her utility, and what I just suggested, which is something that, you know, is like a full plan that you can execute and maybe catch Team Liquid by surprise and could potentially win you a round. This was the kind of thing that was annoying me, that just felt like, and I know we're on a new patch, so maybe the teams haven't had enough time to fully prepare, but this idea of Sage walling this, like, it is a fine idea, and it's unique, and it's kind of interesting, and I haven't seen anyone do it before, but do something with that. You know, don't just wall that and be like, well, that I was just told to wall that, and that's all we've really got. Come up with a plan of how you want to use that wall. So now let's come to round 7, and we're going to see Team Liquid's A push. And as I mentioned, the A strategies didn't really work. They are going to be able to get control of this area, but only because they're going to send everyone there, right? If you manage to send everyone there, sure, you know, the person on A isn't going to be able to deal with everyone. They just have to stall at that point. But because they've sent everyone there, it's going to allow, you know, G2 to flank. It's going to allow them to, you know, get control of all of the rest of the map. And that's kind of, you know, the trade-off that Team Liquid have to do just to get control of that space. And we're also going to see, you know, just a dreadful ult here as well. So they send in that Omen flash towards the ramp there. And then we get this Omen ult that Avova just kills because, you know, it wasn't thought out at all, and there was no pressure anywhere else, so Avova could just turn around. We get the Brim Molly there. Eventually, Liquid are going to try and get into this site. You can already see that they've got a flank. You know, they've lost completely all of the other map, and they are going to manage to end up in a 3v2 here as Navera hits that shot. Classic Liquid, just, you know, relying on them being cracked, I guess. They do get the spike down, but then, again, if we just watch this angle here of the Raze, the Brim isn't expecting the Raze to be behind because they've had to give up all their map control, and then Hoodie is able to trade out Soulcast on that kill as well, and they lose the round. And this is pretty much what it went for, how it went for both teams when they tried to attack A a lot of the time, is it just didn't work, and we also obviously got that terrible Omen ult as well. But now let's come to G2's attacking side, and this honestly might be even worse, because I just want you to think about this from a theoretical perspective. Okay, We have the Raze out here on her own. This is G2's default look. Sometimes, to be fair, the Raze will swap with the Brim. I don't know if that helps, to be honest, but the Raze here is on her own, and the Breach here is on his own on A. And then you've got Sage, Brim, and Chamber here playing together in mid. So these players playing on their own, they can't really get too aggressive because they're on their own, and they don't know that multiple people might be close to them or whatever, so they can't really ever get aggressive or do anything like that. And these three here, you know, they have to be kind of the, you know, the ones to try and, you know, get a bit of space and try and, you know, because this is where they have hopefully the numbers advantage. That's what they're hoping. The problem is, think about the agents that are here in the middle, and think about these agents here that are on the sides on their own. And you'll start to realize, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Why is the Breach alone? Breach, the agent that is like made for team play and can't play off his own utility. That's the whole point of Breach, is you initiate for your team from further away so that they can take advantage of what you're doing. It never makes sense to have Breach on his own. Raze, your duelist, who is going to create space for you and, you know, get into spaces to create pressure on your opponent, is on their own. Doesn't make any sense. Why this Chamber is in mid doesn't make any sense. Okay, Sage and Brim, maybe you can say, you know, they can help. Obviously, the Brim needs to be close for the smoke, so he has a stim beacon. Sage can wall off an area once you start to go. Those two I'm okay with. Why this Chamber is in mid and not swapped with one of these two agents, I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense. And this is something that you can think about before the game starts. And it doesn't make any sense. And as we watch this round out, what's going to happen here is these three are going to slowly walk up their way mid, and then they're going to realize, oh yeah, we don't have any utility that's going to actually help us push into a certain position. We're going to need the Breach here. And so what's going to happen is this Breach on this default, on this A site, is going to walk all the way around here. And he's going to get punished for it, because Yampy, as you can see here playing on the other Breach, is kind of, you know, feeling himself out a bit and feels like, I don't know if there really is anyone here. Again, if this is Chamber, there's a trap here, and this doesn't happen. But look at this. This is like moments before disaster here. You can already see it. And the timing is so funny that he just keeps avoiding him slightly. But look, what they want to do ultimately is get the Breach into this position, because these three agents can't do anything. And so they need Breach here to be able to do that. But obviously, bringing Breach over here has meant that Yampy has found the timing here to be able to do that. Very, very frustrating to watch this, and obviously eventually Yampy is able to punish them. And then now that this Breach is dead, these three just have to go. You know, there's like nothing they can do now. They have to go. They know they're now being flanked from behind as well, so they have time pressure on them as well. And again, it doesn't make any sense. So they just have to blindly walk through the smoke and rightfully get punished by it from Team Liquid. Nice play from them. Good aim from Scream. Like the ult as well, because you know they're there. If they had really big brains, Team Liquid, they might have seen Breach in that position and just ulted it straight away because they know that it's going to be a heaven push. But even so, it was nicely done. And yeah, they end up in a 5v2. And again, G2, what are you doing? And now let's come to round 21. And again, we've got this default look from G2 with this Breach in here. And again, this cannot be Breach. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It needs to be a Viper or a Cypher or an Astra, or in this team comp, probably the Chamber is your best option. But the reason that this is such a bad idea is because they want to take this space. And this time they're going to try and take this space. But it's like they realized too late that this Breach character can't do that on his own, and so is going to need extra support. So there's 5 seconds left before this round starts, and this Brim is going to run around here to try and get a smoke over here so that this Breach can try and take some of this space. Okay, like I said, it's like at the last minute they realize, oh yeah, we want to take the space, but you know, we've got like the worst agent in the world to actually try and do that. So that's exactly what's going to happen. You can follow this little Brim over here if you want. You can see him run over there. Now at the same time, this is actually absolutely baffling as well, is that the Breach, for whatever reason, decides, well, you know, my Brim isn't in range yet, but I'll just do it anyway. Let me try and take this space. Let me walk up. Let me try and do it anyway. And gets rightfully punished by Liquid for just the absolute goal. So this Breach gets stunned right over here. And again, has no way, like, there could easily be someone on the top of ramp here that kills him. Now, there isn't someone on the top of ramp, but Nevera instead is going to come from over here and kill him instead. And they get what they deserve here, G2, because this is woeful. There goes Nevera. He just pushes out after the Breach stun, and they get what they deserve, to be honest, because, again, there is no reason. This Chamber offers you so little here in mid, and this Breach offers you nothing over here on A. Why those agents aren't swapped, I still have absolutely no idea. And so now they just also wasted a brimstone. But as we play this round forward, what's going to happen is they're going to go back and res this breach. But again, are they going to do anything to help this Sage in A? Nope, because they don't have any utility to help the stage. So there's no smokes here. There's no checking. Again, easily anyone in Liquid could be in any... I mean, could even be there, right? There's literally so many things that could go wrong with this Sage trying to get the res back on the breach, because again, without the breach, they don't have any initiation. So why the breach is out there on its own, again, doesn't make any sense. But either way, so what's going to happen is they are going to go get that Sage res, but Team Liquid are going to do well, and they are going to punish it, because there goes the res, as you can see. But what's going to happen is Yampy's going to send his Aftershock in there, and then also we're going to get a Brim ult in here as well, and that's going to force the breach to basically die for free. And that's exactly what happens. There goes the Brim ult, and as you can see, Meadow was basically pushed into the Aftershock because of the ult we have here. So that plan didn't work out for them, and again, they got rightfully punished from it. In a creative way, though, by Liquid. I like that. Almost like a flex on them in their own way. But eventually what they're going to do, as you can kind of see here, is they are just going to push onto this B site. The problem with this push, of course, is they have no initiation. So it's basically going to be fish in a barrel. And they're going to die. I think they step 1 foot onto the site, which we're about to see here. So there goes the first one. As I mentioned, just fish in a barrel. It's just straight aim duels. And you're not going to beat Liquid in that most of the time. So here you go. Over, that's the 1 step on site they actually managed to get. And the rest of them just die for free. And again, it just goes to show that, like, Team Liquid punished them rightfully for that. But G2, what they were thinking with this idea of this breach on A, honestly, I have no idea. I still have no idea. And I'd be welcome for anyone to try and explain this, because to me, this is just inexplicably bad.